Are we ready? Up and running?
I think.
Excellent. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this morning's webinar on the use of SAP Analytics Cloud together with just looking at some challenges together with our HCM module. Today we are 4 persons presenting. I will just give a small introduction, a welcome, and just let everybody who has not seen it yet familiar with our name change from Intelligence to Entity Data and what Entity Data stands for. Then we have Brian who will talk about and introduce our HCM application module. And then we have Simon and Thomas who will introduce SAP Analytics Cloud and the business content that comes along with SAP Analytics Cloud, where we can use the HCM data and also see on other integrations. As we go, you are more than welcome to type in your questions in the chat, and I will monitor the chat, and we will strive to answer the questions at the end of the session, unless we have something very specific to a certain point in the presentation where we will take the question right there and then. Yep, so let's get started. First of all, entity data for business solutions. For those of you who are not familiar with entity data is truly a global player on the IT services market worldwide. We are in the top 10 of the biggest company with IT services, with a revenue of more than $21 billion and more than 130,000 people worldwide. In the Nordic region, entity data 4 or 5 years ago actually acquired Intelligence, but we kept on going as Intelligence until 1st of April this year, where we just jump into the next slide, where we took up the name Entity Data Business Solutions. And as such, not much has changed. We are still the Intelligence, just under a new label, under a new umbrella with the name and all the global offerings and value that it brings to become a global player. But in the Nordic region, we still continue as Entity Data Business Solutions with plus 400 people, focusing mainly on our SAP offerings, but part of the Intelligence or Entity Data Business Solutions in the Nordics are also our data and analytics, into which we bring SAP Analytics Cloud, but also cover other technologies such as Qlik, Tableau, Microsoft Power BI, Alteryx Time Extender, and Snowflake, and so forth. We are 80 plus consultants in the Nordics, with a lot of our Nordic enterprise accounts that we serve. And our services is mainly the data service. That's the platform, data platform to which we can bring value out of data to our customers. And it's our analytics services that covers everything from operational reporting to tactical reporting to strategic reporting analysis, but also these more modern smart insights and AI services that we service. So we look at and give advice on how to define and set up the perfect platform for your data services, how to integrate and access various data types, bring them together, create value out of them, and also for the customers who want to, the continuous deployment and maintenance of the solutions. So that's our general offerings. It's as it has been for the past 4 or 5 years and continue to be also under the entity data umbrella. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Brian to talk about the real content of today's session.
Yeah, thank you. Could you take this next slide? Okay. Yeah, so good morning, everyone. I'm Brian from NTT Denmark, sitting in Aarhus. and I'm part of the HXM team. So I'm happy to be here today, seeing so many guests and co-workers. So I've been working with HIT and SuccessFactors with a focus on various HR processes, but in particular reporting and people analytics. So I've been helping different companies with their HR transformation journey, all the way from the on-premise to cloud transition to more advanced reporting and people analytics projects. So I'm responsible for the reporting and people analytics offering within our HXM team. So so I'm part of the HXM team. As I said, we are a growing team, and we are currently more than 50 experienced consultants in the Nordics. We're all working with HIT, SuccessFactors, and HR strategy and advisory, including project management also. We're sitting we have offices in both Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Finland. Yeah. Next slide. So let's talk about what is, why we're here today and what is important. And that is how can we create added value in combining your existing SuccessFactors installation with reporting. And we have, with our experience, seen what information makes the biggest impact to your clients and to our clients. As an example, we all know that birthday list does not rock the world, but if we can show a turnover report that explains the reason why the employee turnover is particularly high in a certain part of the company, then we can perhaps address the root cause and take actions. For SuccessFactors alone, we have done multiple global projects successfully completed with focus on SuccessFactors reporting and people analytics within the HXM workspace. But today, of course, we're here to talk about the our approach in combining HXM data and technology with business analytics. We see a lot of very valuable gains in doing this. To name a few, to get the most out of your SAP Analytics Cloud with data across line of business data, and also get a unified user experience across your company IT systems. And finally, also to address main HXM pain points by offering combined blended data, HXM and finance data, with the historical aspect also, to help organizations see the reason why, for example, why you have a high voluntary turnover for part of the organization, why you're struggling with general low performance, and perhaps getting insights into the impact of your performance reward strategy, just to name a few of the pain points we see on a daily basis. But that was like the sums of the introduction from the HXM team, and I want to give it to Thomas and Simon to proceed.
Thank you very much, Brian, and thank you, Jesper, for that fine introduction.
Yeah.
Well, now to the important part. I'm not good at sitting down when I'm talking, so maybe we can change the camera a little bit. But I'm here. My name is Simon. I've been working here at Intelligence/NCT Data for the last 9 years. I've been working in the business analytics department, working with mostly SAP's products like BW, Business Objects, and now SAC. And what I will be talking about is this SAP Analytics Cloud, or SAC as we call it, which is SAP's newest offering on the analytical scene. It's purely a cloud product, but we use it to analyze data either from an on-premise system or from a cloud-based system. If we look at, I know these slides might be a little bit dull, but it's simply just to set the scene, to let you know what we're working, what kind of tool we're working with. So this slide is maybe the one that I will be going most into depth with, but what it symbolizes is that SAC has 4 different kind of ways to look at data. We have the business intelligence part where we can do data preparation and we can do storytelling. We have a planning module where you can actually do workforce planning, you can do salary planning, but also other kinds of planning functionalities in there. We have predictive analytics where we can try to predict what will happen in the future based on history. And then we have the application designer where you can actually go in and you can design your own apps. You can make customized apps using JavaScripting and stuff like that. So we have 4 different kinds of building blocks within SAP Analytics Cloud, and they can all be consumed either in a browser or on a mobile phone or on SAP's flagship, which is the digital boardroom. Next slide. This is a more complete slide of the same. With the same story. What actually is more descriptive here are the core capabilities. Thomas will be showing a little bit about it later on, but you'll see especially stuff like data wrangling and the data modeling is where we actually stand out compared to some of our competitors, where you can do it directly in the tool, and it's very easy to do, and it's very easy to figure out. So we will show it to you, and you will be able to do it yourself the next time we open SAC. So the last of the boring slides is how to connect to SAP Analytics Cloud. We have 4 different options. You can either do imported data models or you can do the live data models. And when you're talking about imported versus live data models, it's either towards on-premise systems or towards cloud-based systems. So we have 4 different areas. These are imported data models from cloud systems, imported data models from on-premise systems, live connection from on-premise systems, and live cloud-based systems. If you look over here, we have SuccessFactors. The only way to connect SAC with SuccessFactors is to use an imported data model. So we will be showing that to you in just a second. When working with SAP Analytics Cloud, SAP have provided a lot of business content. And the business content is primarily a lot of different stories and a lot of different models and data connections, which is provided out of the box directly to you as a consumer. So when going into SAP Analytics Cloud, you can open this data content or business content, and you can actually be inspired on how you can build your own models and how you can build your own stories. Some of them you can even simply take and do your own data if you are working with S/4HANA or could be SAP BW. If we look at it from a perspective, they have provided, this is the wrong button, sorry. They have provided a lot of business content for different lines of businesses and for different industries. And over here, this long list is business content with planning included in it. On the next slide, we are looking at what kind of business content have been made directly for HR. And they have provided 2 valuable content packs. The first one is including planning, so you can actually get a grip of what kind of planning can I do and how effective is these planning functionalities. You can simply go in and look at it. And the other one is called SAP Best Practice for HR Analytics with SAP Analytics Cloud, where you actually combine S/4HANA data with SuccessFactors data. And if we can go into SAC, I can actually show it to you. We have the story ready, I hope. It's a story with 4 different pages. So you get 4 different kinds of views on your data, and everything is pre-built and set up for you. So you can actually just go in and be inspired on how can I look at data. On the first page, we have an overview with the different trends. How many people are we and how many FTEs are that? On the second page, we have a little more about gender and diversity reporting. The third page is more KPI based. So how are my wages compared to my full-time employees and stuff like that. And the last page is completely a financial overview where you can actually see how are my different departments financial wise. So this story is free and it's in there and everybody can just unlock it and use it. Right. So that's a little bit about SAP Analytics Cloud, and it's a little bit about the business concept that's in SAP Analytics Cloud when you open it. And what we want to show you today is how you build it yourself from the bottom up. So if you go to the next slide, next slide. So when working with SAP Analytics Cloud, we are working in 3 different levels. So the first level down here is what we call the data connection. That's the description or the metadata about how do we connect SAP Analytics Cloud to a source system. What we want to show you today is how you connect to your SuccessFactors system, but it could easily be to your BW system or your ERP system or your HANA database or anything else. But you can have a connection for everything that you want. And this connection can be reused in different models, which is the next layer. So one connection to many models. You don't have to build a new connection to every model. So once your IT department have built your connection, you can reuse that to make different models. So that's the second layer. And then we build stories on top of these models. And again, we have a ratio, so you can actually have the same model in many stories, but you can also have multiple models in the same story. And within that same story, these models can act together or they can act apart. So you can blend the models or you can leave them apart, just as you wish. And that's your prerogative as a designer. So what Thomas will show you now is how we created a connection to a SuccessFactors system, how we build a model, and how we build a story on top of that, and blend it with finance data and show you how to make KPIs. The floor is yours, Thomas.
Thank you very much, Simon. My name is Thomas Nielsen, and I work in the same department as Simon as a consultant on the SAP Analytics Cloud, among other things. So today I would like to show how we can actually connect our data from SuccessFactors into SAP Analytics Cloud. So let's start jumping in to SuccessFactors, because first of all, I need to tell SuccessFactors that we would allow SAP Analytics Cloud to connect to our data. So one of the ways we can do this is we go into our admin center here in SuccessFactors, and we are looking at our company settings, and below company settings here we have something called manage OAuth or client applications. So it's here we actually go in and tell SuccessFactors that we would allow some other systems to connect to this one here. So I've already set up a connection to SAC here. So if we briefly just go in and view it. So here when you create this OAuth authentication, you get an API key and you also generate a certificate that you would then use to create the actual connections over in SAP Analytics Cloud. So if we jump back to SAP Analytics Cloud, let me just jump to the front page here, and we can jump down to connections. I have some connections here already. Let's see here, we'll jump down. Let's sort. So you can see here I have already some connections. I've set a connection up to our demo system, and you can also have some of the connections, as Simon said. If we import some business content packages, you often get some connections there as well, so we can go in and change those. So if we go into the connection I've set up here, briefly just click on the edit button. You can see here I have a name for my connection. I got the service URL. I got the name of the technical user who got the access to our SuccessFactors. I would then type in my API key here, and I would upload the certificate file that I got from SuccessFactors, and that would actually then create my connection here to the system. So once I have the connection to my system, I can go in and create a model. So if I click on model, I can then see I would like to create a model from our data sources. You can see here we can create from a wide variety of data sources. But in this case, let's take a SuccessFactor. And again, the way we create models, we choose from a connection. So one of the ways I can create a new model, I can simply copy a query from an existing model. This can become very handy if you have multiple models and you don't want to destroy anything in your existing storage. Then you can simply take and build a new model based on an existing one. In this case, I will go to our demo system and simply create a new query from that. So now it's connected to the system, and people who are familiar with SuccessFactors probably can recognize all these kind of areas that we have here in Employee Central. I would take a shortcut and simply start from a template query that's also provided and simply select headcount. So now I get a query with a lot of the fields that I would like to use in my reporting already selected. I can then select other fields that's not already in my query for like hire date, and I could take like termination date as well. And I can jump down and says I would also like to have cost center as some of the fields here. Again, I can also modify what fields I would like here if I'm not using future leader, for instance, or I'm not using ethnicity. I can remove that as well. Once I'm familiar with what the data I would like to import from my SuccessFactors, I simply click Create. So what the system is doing now is actually taking that query and making an import job of my data and import those data into SAP Analytics Cloud. As Simon mentioned, we are working either as with data extracts or we are working with live data.
So while this is uploading, we see that there are no questions at the time in the chat. That's fine. If you at some point find some questions, feel free to reach out to us, either to me or any of my colleagues. Send us an email. It's very fine.
That's interesting. Still loading. Still loading.
This is what happens when we are live.
Yeah. But this is live, folks.
Do you have an old query we can use instead?
Yeah, we can go in and but I would like to show the data wrangling, but I can do that as well in this case here. So we can take, for instance, this one we created. Let's say here it's still loading. Okay. So I'm simply jumping into a model I created earlier.
So Stefan is asking us if there are any indicators that live connections will be available to SuccessFactors. And the short answer is no. The long answer is that it used to be on the roadmap. We actually discussed it with another one of our clients a couple of months ago, that in 2019 it was officially on the roadmap for SAC and SuccessFactors. But on the latest roadmap, it has been removed. So, and SAP are saying that it's not going to come right now. It's a future direction, but that's everything SAP will provide us with.
Okay, so I've jumped into the model. This would actually normally be the next window after you imported your data. When you click on the imported data, it would open up in a view like this, where you can actually preview the data that you've imported. So here I can simply click on my data and see the number of data that I have here in my model. I have like 144 rows. How many unique models values I have in the different areas. So right out of the box here, when I'm imported cost center, you can see I have a lot of blanks cost centers, and this is where we have the data wrangling coming in. I can simply take our values here and say I will replace empty values with something else. In this case, I simply just choose the Norway cost center. And then it actually changed my data. There's a lot of options to how you can actually change and manipulate your data in here. The same go as our full-time employee that we have here in this column. You can see there's some data missing. I could either choose to delete the data, or I can simply just replace empty values with zeros. And that would basically give me the model that I have. And then once I've finished building my model and do the data wrangling I would do, I can simply then choose Save Model, and then I would have built the model I can use in my stories. Simply just discard the changes that I made and revert back to the model I already built here. So once I have created a model, we come into to the next step and actually building the story of our data. So let me just jump to the front page and says, I would like to create now my first story based on my data here. So when I click on the stories, I simply just choose a simple one like canvas. And then it says, what would I like to add to my canvas? I would like to add a chart. And then I can find my model that I have saved. This one. And then what I would like to see here, I can then add a measure. I would like to see my count of full-time employees, and I would like to see it based on a dimension like the cost center. So now I got a nice quick overview of how many full-time employees I have per cost center. The next thing we would like to show is actually then how can we combine this data with some other data that we have. So if I click on the data tab, and I scroll down here, I can now add another data set from another model I have, like Simon mentioned. So if I click in here, again, I can find some other data. And in this case, we have some kind of internal cost data that typically would come from our HANA system. So in here, I have some data. And again, I have the amount on cost center. I can briefly here in my data explorer see how this is gonna break down on my data. I could then look at the data, see here we have the breakdown per cost center. I can then easily add this to my story we have here, but you can see as cost is a negative number. I will briefly go into the designer here, and then under measures, say I will create a new calculated measure. And here I simply just create a new measure. I would name cost, and then I would take my amount and simply just multiply it with a negative one. And then I will remove the old measure, and now I have something that looks a little bit nicer. So how can I combine these two figures? There's different ways we can do that. I can insert a new chart. I can also simply clone my existing one here into a new chart. And up here, here in this corner, I can add a linked model. So here I can choose my second model. I would like to have the data. And I know now I would like to combine the data on the cost center level. So in this case, I would take and add my cost centers. And in this particular case, I know I need to combine cost centers from my headcount query from SuccessFactors with the cost center from my financial system. Once I do that, I can go in here again into measures, and I can go down here to my internal costs that are now available. I can create a new calculation, and I can simply call this one cost per FTE. And then I can take my costs, divide it with my measure for full-time employee like this. And again, I can remove the old measure. And now I actually got the cost per full-time employee for my cost center here and got that kind of insight.
And that's actually where you get that insight you're talking about, right? So we can see it on the other numbers that, okay, there's a lot of people working in Denmark and they are accruing a lot of cost, but here we actually get the insight that how many kroners per employee are they using on internal costs compared to, let's say, Norway, right?
Yeah.
So.
And we can, of course, again, take and slice our data like we would use. I have my measure that I created, my cost per FTE, and I can then take and split that down into my dimension here, like on my cost element, so we can see where we're actually spending the costs that we're using, if it's in internal transportation, travel expenses, or restaurant meals. If I click here and I would add trellis to my donut chart, I can even add a further dimension from my query here, and again split it out on the cost center. So we can quite easily see how the breakdown is. So we can see, for instance, in Finland, there's a lot of travel expenses, maybe long distances. In Norway, we can see there's a lot of expenses on restaurant and meals. Some of us know that it's expensive in Norway, and in Denmark we like to drive a lot around in between our offices. And that's how you can actually get some valuable insight into your data. And you can even combine your data here, saying that if I click on something down here, I would like to see on how is my cost per FTE actually is working. So by enabling this feature here, when I click down here, you can see my chart is changing, and I can see my cost per full-time employee in Finland on this travel expenses is 467.
So Brian, this demo, does that answer some of the pain points that you see at your customers?
Yes, it does. You know, working with store reporting directly into SuccessFactors, it also uses SAC as a user interface, but only subset of the functionality that you have. So especially when working with creating the data model, you know, the way you can wrangle your data, you can clean up the data, and replace you know, values for, you know, in the data set. That is not possible in SuccessFactors because that works from within SuccessFactors. And of course, obviously, the you know, the option to combine this data is very valuable. And also, which SAC, you know, the SAC you show here, having the option to also put on a business warehouse to have the historical data also in another scenario. That is also, I believe, you know, what is something many companies are missing, to see, you know, the data changing by using the time dimension as a trend.
Cool.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thomas, you have the next slide.
Yeah, just gonna save my story here. So let's go back to the slides. So that was basically it.
Yeah.
might add to the question about live connections to SuccessFactors, since we didn't touch that. But when we create the model on the import data here, you can actually go in and schedule on which frequency you would like to have these data extracted. So if you want to have like kind of a more near live scenario, you can actually go in and schedule this to happen at frequent intervals on your data in here. You can see here is unscheduled, but I could actually go in and schedule my data to run repeating, and you can see I can choose weekly, or I can also even choose hourly. So I can refresh my data on each and every hour to get fresh data from SuccessFactors.
Well, are there any third-party products that are offering some simulation of live data as well? I thought I had something at some point with Alteryx.
Yeah, but in this case, you can do some extracts as well. But when it comes to the system of SAP here, you have the already connected connections. You talked a little bit about third-party connectors as well, and of course you can use that as well in this scenario. Okay.
Yeah, you want to go ahead, Simon?
Can you read it, or should I?
I can read. So we have a question from Maiken. Is the HR business content available as part of your SAP license, or is it an additional package you buy?
No, it's available as part of your SAC license. Can you try to open SAP Analytics Cloud again?
Yeah.
And then go to the business content?
Yes, sure.
If you widen that.
Yeah. So
in the bottom here, you have this tab called Content Network. And within Content Network, that middle point there is called Business Content. And if you're not seeing it, then maybe your administrator have blocked it for you. And you can ask your administrator to activate some of all this business content. These are the HR and SuccessFactors business content packages that are available. So yes, that's the short answer.
Yeah, exactly, Simon. And if I might add, this is also where we would very much like to help you along, because some of the business content is ready as templates, as Simon says, and as first attempts to connect to the data, but you might find that some of the connections need to be manipulated or adjusted a little bit to your systems, and that's where we can add value and also help you along to get the content activated with your data on SuccessFactors.
And what SAP says that these content packages will connect to your own data systems if your legacy system or source systems are 100% SAP standard. If you have changed anything, then there might be some rework that needs to be done. But for inspirational purposes, they are available for everybody, and it's not free of charge, but it's part of your license. Yeah.
And then we have another question from Adeline. What are the options available if the customer does not want to replicate data into to SAC, but virtually access it from Salesforce? I think that's part of the live connection. Oh, sorry, SuccessFactors. I guess that's kind of the same as with live connections that Simon answered before. It's not at the near time roadmap from SAP at the moment.
No.
And then we have a question from our dear colleague, Johan. Could you again explain the added value for me as a customer by investing in standalone SAC compared to SuccessFactors inbuilt reporting?
Based on SAC.
Based on SAC, yeah.
Well, I'm not a salesperson, but no, what the benefits are that you can actually add data to it. So you can take your SuccessFactors data and you can combine it with other types of data. If you have your salary planning in another system than your SuccessFactors, then you can actually add it and you can do reporting based on that. You can have data coming from your finance system trying to tell you how are your costs per cost center, or how are your salary development in an entire cost center, and then you can do some analytics based on your data from the SuccessFactors. Also, you have a lot of added functionalities in Success or in SAC that you do not have in the embedded version that is People Analytics. So stuff like data wrangling, like data modeling, and there are the other
blending. I would say is one of the strong features. Now we only focus today on the SuccessFactors data that we create a connection to. You could also, if you would choose to extract your data and then import them manually. We didn't touch this today, but you can basically take any Excel spreadsheet you have with data, load it into your SAP Analytics Cloud, and then combine that data with your HR data if you have some other information. Could be survey data, for instance, or something like that. So you have a more strong opportunity to actually blend a lot of different data sources and create a visual story on your data in SAP Analytics Cloud quite easy.
And add to that maybe a common user experience. So your analytics on other modules and combined data will be from the SAC, whereas if it's only in SuccessFactors, you actually go into SuccessFactors, then you jump to another module and see the embedded reporting in that tool. So the more familiar user experience of logging into SAC to SAP Analytics Cloud and find all your analytics, all your BI in one common place, nicely organized and under the same kind of security experience could also be part of it.
Yeah, and planning as well. It's possible to do planning directly in SAC if you have the correct licenses. Yeah. So, but all businesses are different. So if you want to talk to us about how it can make value for your business, feel free to reach out to us. Great.
Do we have any other questions coming in? We'll just give it a few more minutes. Otherwise, it pretty much concludes our morning session webinar here. I hope it was inspirational, and I hope it demonstrated how easy it is to access and actually add value out of the data that are available in your HCM and combine it with other data. And as Simon nicely said, feel free absolutely to reach out to us to elaborate even more on the discussions on how this can be done, how it can add value to your business, or in general, both going from the human resource part of it, but also from the analytics part of it. By all means, reach out and we'll be more than happy to come back to you, answer your questions. This morning session has been recorded as well, so you will receive a link if you want to revisit some of the things, content that has, and the slide deck, will be shared with you if you want to revisit the content we have been through this morning. Any last question coming in? Otherwise, I think we will set you free with 15 minutes to spare this morning to get another cup of coffee before jumping into the next team meeting, or if other people are like us, happy to get back to on work as well, meet the colleagues by the coffee bar. Cool. Have a great day.
Yeah. Thank you for attending.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.